Maybe we should hide it? Let's do it. By the way, I set up this subwoofer for them to get the most out of the sound. Just call me. Yeah, these guys could just try to bury me right at the factory, shove me into some anechoic chamber and leave me there. A gorgeous tattooed girl starts spinning on the screen. Stay with us! Hello, comrades. Behind me is the Tonewinner factory. This is one of the coolest factories for producing high-quality hi-fi and high-end audio. And today we're going to get inside and try, well, not just try, we'll actually test one of their newest products, namely a streamer with support for Tidal, Qobuz, and high-res. And it can even rip CDs. This device is quite a serious competitor. According to the owner of the company whom we spoke with recently, I interviewed him, he also considers it a competitor to the Chinese Eversolo models, which cost significantly more. And that makes this test even more interesting. As always, at the entrance I'm greeted by a lovely young woman who has become even fairer. A brief tour, so to speak, of their rooms. Here is their home theater, their test setup. By the way, I set it up for them. This subwoofer here, I adjusted its sound, which became much better after my tuning. If you want to get the most out of your sound at home, just call me. Here is the test room, which offers us, let's say, more budget-friendly home theater solutions are here, and Tonewinner tests all sorts of karaoke systems, active and passive acoustics. Of course, the acoustics here are a bit lower in class, but they're more adapted for home use. But in this room, let's go in here first. It's a specialized space where you can grab a microphone and sing your own song. Maybe something like Michael Jackson's Do You Remember the Time? This room is more interesting to us because let's turn off the music so YouTube doesn't ban us. This is exactly where we'll be testing it, although I've already tested this device and have a general idea of what it's like. But now I'll tell you everything you need to know about it, whether it's worth buying, what it looks like, what it resembles, and how interesting its design is. And in general, we'll go over its, let's say, technical features and specifications. And at the end, as always, we'll give our verdict and figure out for sure whether you need it. Or not. But that's not all. With the help of binaural microphones, which are like Thor's hammer forged in Asgard, and have already proven that cables make a difference. And all the skeptics who love to measure everything were shocked because it really did show a difference in such tiny details as changing the power cable. So with its help, we will listen to this device right here. And then, if possible, we'll even compare it with a CD player. Because according to the company owner, their latest streamer actually sounds better than a CD with an original licensed disc, folks. According to the guys from Tonewinner, this entire setup, which consists of the streamer, a separate preamp, and their top-of-the-line power amplifier that operates in Class A, can switch to Class AB and even has an auto-switching mode, costs around $6,000 and includes these speaker systems right here. Unfortunately, I wanted to connect these AS speakers, which are three-way floor-standing models. They are just about right for this room, but they are designed in such a way that they can only be powered by this multi-channel amplifier. So basically, we have it set up by channel over there. Because of this, I had to choose these bookshelf speakers, which, according to the engineers from Tonewinner, are the best ones if you don't count the floor-standing models. So this whole set is included. So the bookshelf speakers, 3 units wireless, cost $8,000 US. They weigh almost 10 kilograms. For a streamer, that's a very impressive figure. What stands out? It's definitely their signature Tonewinner design because it absolutely matches their philosophy. Look, here we have this power amplifier and there's a preamp. If you buy this streamer for it, it will look as harmonious as possible. Can I say that this is a super cool design? No. Can I say that this is an original design? Yes. Can I say that I would put it in my own home? Devices with this kind of design? Most likely yes. But I have already spoken with the head of the company, gave them a couple of my suggestions, which they most likely won't take into account, but nevertheless, I shared my thoughts about new trends in industrial design. I told them about it. The first thing that catches your eye is the large touchscreen, which is quite easy to read. I would really like to see this kind of solution in all new receivers, streamers, and maybe even integrated amplifiers, because it would significantly improve the usability of interacting with the product. Because when even now, on very expensive high-end equipment, they still use those tiny displays, sometimes just 2 lines or even just 1, it's just laughable. So, in this streamer, yes, the screen is large, but not gigantic, because we've seen, for example, in the Eversolo, which is its competitor, the screen is even bigger. And according to the owner of the company, it is better than the Eversolo, which costs 400,000 rubles here. You might remember that on the Eversolo there's even a little display on the knob, I think, and a slightly larger one on the front panel as well. So this device weighs more than its competitor and supposedly sounds better. If Eversolo gives me their device to test, I'll be able to say for sure whether that's true or not. But for now I won't say anything since I haven't tested them head to head. But since the founder of the company makes such claims, I think he has some right to do so. The button will be metal with blue backlighting. And here we see two, you could even call them radiators, which overall... Listen, yeah. Basically it's been running since early morning and it was working yesterday too. It doesn't really heat up much. It's more likely getting warm from this power amp, which is running in Class A right now. And it's just insanely hot despite having huge heat sinks. Let's take a look at what kind of feet it has. Well, they're pretty simple. We saw exactly the same ones on their receiver, Tonewinner. That's why they're standardized across their products. If you replace them with something more serious, or for example put it on Taok cones or on using something like the Isoacoustics Gaia series, or just place it on some kind of vibration isolating platform, I think you'll notice a significant effect. Of course, doing so would be much better for the sound quality. The back is much more interesting. Look, we have balanced outputs left and right. We have RCA, coaxial, optical, HDMI, USB 3.0, USB 2.0, and you can even insert a flash drive, which is quite rare. And of course there's LAN. I recommend, look, friends, if you use Tidal Qobuz or streaming in high quality, in high res, and this device supports that function, then of course it's better to connect not via wireless connections but to use LAN, a proper cable connection with the highest quality cable possible. You can also install a hard drive and have your own collection of high resolution, high quality files. Looks like the lady brought some tea probably. Another nuance. If you have any fairly simple external CD drive, you can connect it, and friends, you can rip your discs and it will record everything onto the hard drive. Is there any point in using this function? Well, most likely not, because if you... Not some super rare recordings that don't exist anywhere on the internet. If they're not in the Tidal or Qobuz library, then maybe such a function makes sense. But for me, for example, I mostly listen to well-known artists like Bach, Mozart, George Michael, Madonna, Rammstein, AC/DC, and many, many others. And by the way, I listen to Kanye West and even Drake sometimes, so... My musical taste is quite diverse, and all of that can be found on the major streaming services, and I choose two of them, namely Tidal or Qobuz. So, well, ripping is really not an important thing at all. Here's another nuance. The quality is very good. Here we have terminals for connecting, as well as RCA. Well, as for balance, honestly, it's hard to mess it up here or make it exceptionally outstanding. Of course, in an ideal scenario, I would like for these connectors to be Nutric if they are still being produced. Although in China, as I understand it from the philosophy of the factory owners, and fortunately I've already visited several, they try to use their own products as much as possible, their own toroidal transformers, their own USB connectors, and so on. First of all, it's cheaper. Second, it's easier to source. And third, let's say it gives them more control over the process. If there's ever a defect, they can quickly resolve all those issues right there. Although, of course, it's impossible to do without certain Japanese components. Here, for example, there are AKM chips and Asahi Kasei semiconductor parts. Although I'm sure the screen is definitely made in China, because in the Middle Kingdom everything is about screens. There are screens in the elevator, screens in the parking lot, you walk around, and there are screens everywhere in the building too. Alright, so let's go ahead and install it, or maybe, should we open it up? Let's do it in field conditions, you could say, since we're at the Tonewinner factory in their demo hall. Oh, that's why I don't have my setup here. Usually, in my test rooms, I always put everything on the table and open things up in much more comfortable conditions. Friends, even in these conditions that aren't really suited for, let's say, unboxing work, I'm trying to bring you as much information as possible. To open everything up in real time and show you everything as it is without embellishment. Just imagine if we open it up now and there's something terrible inside. I'll have to tell you all about it. Yeah, these guys could just try to bury me right here at the factory. They could shove me into some anechoic chamber and leave me there. No, friends. As they say, I don't take bribes. I would feel bad if I did, so I'll tell you everything honestly, just as it is. What I like is that so the lid opens, and it's not cheap like on most, let's say, equipment like receivers or amplifiers. And you open it up and it just kind of rattles in your hands. No, here we have a modular system, meaning the top cover is actually on top, just like on my Bristons, and this is a streamer. I'll repeat, they're amplifiers, and we lift it up like this, and what do we see here? Since yesterday, the company's boss, Tonewinner Michael, already showed and explained the internals to me. I can say that everything here is done quite well. There's practically no empty space inside. And this is the pride of Michael, the engineer who still builds and designs all the devices himself, taking a direct part in their development. An engineer with vast experience, and as you know, the company has been around for, I think, over 30 years. So he said that this toroidal transformer is of the highest quality, and they have done very serious shielding, so electromagnetic interference is practically not transmitted to the circuit board, where accordingly these microchips are installed. AKM Asahi Kasei Semiconductor. The most interesting thing is that their website says they use AK4499 EX-EQ chips, and accordingly the AK4191. These are flagship chips, but that's not the case. A new AK4498 EXVQ has already been released, which is even more advanced. By the way, the separate digital filter AK4191EQ with a multi-bit delta sigma modulator also provides a fully discrete digital to analog architecture for improved noise reduction. In this sense, there is basically no difference between them. But when it comes to sound, it would be interesting to compare the very latest version with the previous one. Although, for example, in my Bryston BDA314 DAC, it actually uses the 4490 chip. But I can honestly and confidently tell you that there's no point in chasing after the very latest chips, because there are plenty of examples where we take DACs from an older generation, even with some ancient ones. Saber, and it will sound great, really good, especially if we compare it to some super ugly and absolutely poorly powered DAC that uses newer chips. The issue isn't the chips themselves, but rather how everything is put together, how it's powered, how it's shielded. There's no need to get hung up on these latest chips. There are also 7 voltage regulator chips installed here, LDOs with ultra-low noise levels, and 3 OPA16 operational amplifiers are used as well. 12. The power supply is linear and push-pull. And note that this transformer has just recently come off the assembly line, specifically on September 24th, 2025. Just a moment. You know what point I'd like to mention to the guys from Tonewinner? Something I'd like them to do. Right here, to add another partition that would separate the screen, because as far as I know, these displays also create interference, and it would be good to put here. A metal partition. Yes, and here I would separate all these compartments as well. Even though the transformer is in a casing, I'd still like to cover it somehow. I don't know, it would just make me feel more at ease for my own peace of mind. Then also the precious section with the AKM pins, so familiar, so valuable. You remember, I think it was in the 20th or 20... In the second year in Japan, a factory burned down, and because of that it was a very serious blow. The company was hit hard and even had to delay the release of new chips. That's why my hands are itching to build something here, something with even more interference protection. Basically to provide the maximum possible protection against interference. Alright, let's close it up and see how it works in terms of usability, and of course listen to the sound and then give out done, right? No. Right? Yes. Our review. Well, as you can see, it turned on and immediately started playing the last song. Say You Love Me. That's Simply Red. I hate this band. They literally have only one decent song. Everything else is just impossible to listen to. Let's go over the usability. We press the plus button and here we have options for home or back. Home accordingly brings us to the main screen, and again we see which track is playing. We see the hard disk if it's connected, and accordingly a flash drive disk, NAS, and streaming. So we have support Tidal, Qobuz, Deezer, Hi-Res Audio, and radio. Overall, this is an Android-based system, but the interface itself, according to the guys from Tonewinners, was designed by them, since the company has quite a lot of experience both in hardware and software. They also developed their own calibration system for their receivers, which is quite a rarity. There are only a handful of companies that have managed to create their own algorithms for room analysis. You might remember that even Marantz and Denon until recently used Odyssey. But this calibration system is neither Marantz's nor Denon's. Atom, for example, uses its own system, and Trinov came up with the coolest calibration system, Drag. We have a few more as well. All of this is the result of serious work by programmers who develop, study all these things, and give us the ability to, on our receivers or even on stereo systems, somehow adjust the sound of the systems. Although for stereo I don't recommend doing this, and I always try to tune the system using moving the speakers and arranging the whole system in a more competent way. Eliminating primary reflections in the room is a more proper approach. But without, let's say, mathematics, without adjusting the acoustic systems in a home theater, we can't do without software. So Tonewinner has developed their own software for their receivers. And in this player, yes, it's clear that it runs on Android, but the interface itself and, let's say, higher quality audio playback is achieved again through software. All of this is developed by Tonewinner, and that's a very significant point. Very few can boast about this. What about the interface itself? Yes, overall it's done pretty well. Of course, there are also some Chinese services here, which I absolutely don't understand, and they'll always be a mystery to me. Let's switch to Tidal, which I love, and I still pay for it. This is a licensed account. I've probably been using it for about 3 or 4 years now. So, we've logged in. Look, the albums are all displayed in pretty good quality. You can easily switch over, for example, to Top Hit, play Folden, and you can immediately see the quality. 44.1 kilohertz, 2 channels, 192 kilobits. But that's actually quite weak, just 16-bit. Hold on, let's stop and turn off the music so that YouTube doesn't ban us. Let's change the resolution, set it to high res. And what else will happen in this case? Guys, don't get mad at Tonewinner for lagging or anything like that. Actually, the system works well on their Chinese services, but Tidal is blocked in China just like it is here. That's why there are always these little nuances with streaming. What else can we do here? We can look at the equalizer, turn it on, and we can even change the lighting to match your environment. For example, set this one, which will look more stylish. The remote from Prado is really cool. This is truly high-end, because a similar one for my Bryston cost about 500 bucks. This one comes included in the package. It's made of metal, machined from aluminum with metal buttons. It's quite heavy. When you hold it in your hand, you realize this is truly a top-tier option. Of course, the remote for the streamer is much simpler. Still, it's made of metal. Although at first glance it seems like it's plastic, because nowadays many manufacturers are tricky and do this, like this. Here's a coating on plastic and it seems like it's metal. But no, friends, it's also metal. Now let's quickly go through the menu and the languages. We only have 2, Chinese and English, DSD mode. You can see here for audio output we have either local or HDMI. You can also set it, and accordingly here you have DLNA functions, software, Samba server. You can connect if you have some kind of NAS and a library. The last cool feature, when you press it, an arrow appears on the screen and you can manage everything with it. You can move it around the screen like this, but I immediately turn it off because I still remember an LG TV with a similar feature and it was all terrible and inconvenient. It's easier for me to switch specifically between each block like this. Fortunately, there aren't that many here, and overall you can easily choose what you need. So you set up the stream right away and then just switch as needed. You switch songs, play, pause, and so on. And right away a gorgeous tattooed girl starts spinning on the screen, and you just want to grab her from the screen and move her. Move her here, onto that blue sofa. Let's connect this removable CD drive and see how it gets detected. Here our CD has appeared. And yes, no problem, you can play a song directly from the disc, or accordingly you can rip it without any problems. If there is a hard drive inside, but in this case there isn't one here. And I recommend, if you're going to install something, of course you should install an SSD, no other way. Let's turn on the first CD. Let's listen. How harsh is the Chinese internet? Without exaggeration, we tried for about 20 minutes so that from both the streamer and Tidal we could play Yellow in high quality, specifically high res. And now, after I set up my hotspot on my S25 Ultra, we can compare the CD player, the previous track, and the streamer. So write in the comments which one did you like more. And of course the full version will be available on my Telegram channel. Let's go. Well, yes.